protesting on the streets half the time. We weren't in our classes. If the janitors at McGill University went on strike, we were not going to go to our classes in solidarity. This is a true story. And the only people that went were the engineering students. That's another true story. So my classmate, who was white and Australian in my Chinese history classes, said, let's go to China this summer. And I said, okay, let's go to China this summer. And they didn't give her a visa. The Chinese embassy didn't give her a visa, but they gave me a visa because the Chinese embassy thought I was Chinese also. Everybody thought I was Chinese, including myself in those years. Now, to put it in perspective, well, I guess the younger people have no perspective on what the 70s was like, but for the older people, you might forget. President Nixon had just gone to China on his historic trip. He was a right-wing Republican and the only guy with enough credentials to go to a communist country and not be called a commie. So Nixon goes, he opens the door, and the whole Western world becomes fascinated with Chinese politics and culture. And they start selling the Little Red Book in bookstores in downtown Toronto. Pat Nixon, who's President Nixon's wife, poses for the cover of Ladies' Home Journal, which is, I think it's extinct, maybe it's still around, but it was a women's magazine. She poses wearing Chinese clothes. Playboy magazine. Of course, none of you have ever heard of Playboy magazine, right? Well, Playboy magazine, Prince, yeah, you don't have it in the library? You guys should start petitioning on the basis of freedom of speech for a Playboy magazine. Okay, you're not getting it. The counselor's already said it. You're not getting it. Playboy magazine published Chairman Mao's poems in the April 1972 issue. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Andy Warhol, you know, he did silk screens of celebrities like Marilyn Monroe. Well, he was also doing silk screens of Chairman Mao. So that was how the West viewed China. And I'm telling you that because I did something really bad when I got to China. But I'm trying to put it in context. I got there on my own. I didn't speak Chinese. I'm traveling around like a really stupid person. I can't do anything. And because they think I'm Chinese, they're putting me in the Chinese travel service. China had an apartheid system in those days. If you were ethnic Chinese, you got treated by one travel agency, and you stayed in one set of hotels, and you had one set of guides. Those hotels and those guides were unilingual Chinese. No translation, nothing. So I would be really struggling because I only had Mandarin 101 from McGill, and I got an A, and nobody understood a word I said in China. And I didn't understand a word they said. So I kept asking the guide if I could study Chinese somewhere. I was kind of ignorant about what was happening in China. I didn't know all the schools were closed because of the Cultural Revolution. They were shutting down everything. And all the young people who were age 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 were traveling through the whole country free. Chairman Mao said, the young people are going to make a revolution. And they got free passage on the train system. Planes were very rudimentary in China in those days. The main means of transportation was train. And people who had never left their village suddenly got, you didn't even need a pass. You just showed up, you look like you're 18, fine. You know, free ride anywhere you want in the country. And so they were going all over the country, and the schools were closed. However, two had opened, Beijing University and Tsinghua University, the two top schools in China. And I suddenly found myself at Beijing University